The word drone has become a household term. What started as tools for warfare quickly became toys for private citizens to have a little fun. But now, after years of private and military experimentation, unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, sometimes called UAS for unmanned aerial systems, have become more sophisticated and reliable, opening the door for practical and commercial applications and sparking a debate about public safety and privacy. As more models take to the skies, many in the utility industry are imagining the possibilities for their use in the energy and power space.
Right now, most co-ops inspect their lines on a periodic basis. That works well when the lines are next to paved roads, but as many co-ops have lines that extend across farm fields or into mountainous terrain, it doesn't work all that great.
You're going to have to pay a lot of money to have a helicopter or a crop duster, plus you have a man that is in that aircraft. You're putting lives at risk to be able to do something you could do with a system that would have the standoff capability to get the exact same imagery in a safer, cheaper manner.
You have a lot of possibilities with UAVs. First, on the transmission sector, you can now get up close and personal with the transmission towers, look for physical features in the towers, see if there are any cracks that you wouldn't be able to see with the naked eye. And then along the transmission lines and also the distribution lines, you can now fly those routes more frequently, cheaper, and because you're doing it more frequently, you can track vegetation growth.
And you aren't just looking at the system with a camera. Drones equipped with advanced GPS, thermal imaging, LiDAR, and other sensors can allow for deep checks on system safety, reliability, and resilience functions.
We apply a sensor that's on an unmanned system, and you could certainly do that with a helicopter, but how often are you going to be able to do that? It's going to be every 6 months or every year. Versus with an unmanned system, you can do it on a consistent basis and always be detecting these upcoming problems that threaten the grid.
But public concerns about safety and privacy continue to be a challenge.
So currently you need to apply to the FAA in order to get an exception to fly your UAS in the airspace. And that's a process that generally would take you a couple of months and require a lot of information, including what type of aircraft you want to fly and how exactly you're proceeding to do that.
To get these vehicles flying in the national airspace, they got to do it safely. It's their biggest priority. So we have checks and balances in place in order to make sure that you're not going to have any type of flyaway issues, that the props are connected properly to the boom in order for it to not spin in the wrong direction. You have to go through a pre-flight checklist, and we have done a lot of testing to ensure that these are some of the safest systems that we can possibly put together.
There's also secondary concerns like privacy. If you're going to be flying over people's homes and you see something, what do you do with that information?
In February, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, introduced draft regulations on the issue and okayed limited utility testing. Many argue that the proposed rules are too strict, specifically regarding line-of-sight limits, and that the FAA needs to find a better balance between commercial use and the protection of privacy.
Quite simply, when the UAV is up there, it's trained to look at the distribution lines or the transmission lines or specific assets of the utility. And because we have most of those assets mapped in our mapping systems, you should be able to upload that map into the UAV system, and the UAV will follow that automatically with a human controlling it in the background. Since everything is fully mapped now, we know where our assets are and we know where to send the UAV.
I think what we're looking at now is how to streamline the process and how to make sure that we can maintain safety while implementing this technology. I foresee FAA coming out with some rules to generally establish a way for us to get these systems up and operating in a safe manner. What we would like to see is our ability to have a streamlined process that didn't take 6 months start to finish, but something that we could have co-ops opt into and really become a part of a broader system of regulations around this that would enable us to have permission to fly these over our systems.
It could be years before a final FAA rule is passed. But in the meantime, many co-ops are testing drone technologies and planning for their eventual integration into operations.
Having the UAV fit its application of finding faults before they become outages, that would mean so much to co-ops because you're going to be able to increase reliability and lower costs. And at the end of the day, you're keeping the lights on longer for the customer.